I'm one of the few people that plays both Breath of the Wild and Genshin Impact. And despite how much Genshin may have copied my beloved Zelda game, to me it took good elements and made a different great game from it that I enjoy. However, one thing is hard to ignore, and that's Genshin's gacha system. A system that locks the most powerful characters behind a paywall that will be bigger depending on how lucky you are. I'm aware that you can do everything in the game for free, but I also realize the many ways it tries to trick you into spending more money, which I definitely wouldn't fall victim to. But recently I was wondering what if it was the other way around, and Breath of the Wild copied some ideas from Genshin, like its pay-to-win mechanic, so I came up with this challenge run. I have to beat Breath of the Wild, but I'm not allowed to pick up any items from the game's overworld. However, I get to scan an Amiibo every hour. In case if you don't know, scanning Amiibo gives you a random chest with a random item, so I had to rely on getting lucky. Additionally, in the spirit of the challenge, I am allowed to find rupees in the game and can then do an additional Amiibo pull every 160 rupees. That's how much a summon costs in Genshin Impact. Last but not least, I am allowed to use the game's key items like the paraglider, the Sheikah Slate and Spirit Orbs, since those are kind of the main core of the game itself. And with those rules in mind, I was off to starting a new playthrough and essentially now had to beat the Great Plateau without any items. There isn't really any sources of rupees here and I wasn't just gonna wait an hour. This, however, wasn't really a problem. I simply made it to the tower and activated it. Then ran to the bomb shrine, got its rune, and solved it casually. The same idea worked for the Magnesis shrine. Then I had to make it up to Stasis, which is also fairly easy casually by just climbing up these steps on the wall. In Stasis, I had to start being a little more creative. By using the power on the big boulder and then charging it up with the bombs, I could move it out of the way to finish the shrine. After having to die a couple times on my way to Cryonis because I wasn't allowed to pick up any food, I finished that shrine casually and then picked up my paraglider. I had about 30 minutes left after the Great Plateau, so I decided to do some shrines, which surprisingly made me realize how fun it is to solve them creatively without any equipment. As I cleared the shrines, I got closer to Kakariko at the same time and also got myself a horse at the wetland stable. Just under Kakariko, at the Dark Kartas shrine, which was solved casually in the first half and then with a cool bomb boost trick in the second, it was time for my first Amiibo summon. I have a bunch of these Amiibo cards and I shuffled them to then pick at random. I pulled the Mifa Amiibo here, which spawned in a bunch of fish, which I could then use for food buffs later in the run. Now it was time for the big one, the random item chest. And it's time. Okay, well, I guess I had arrows now, but still no bow to perform most of the useful speedrun tricks, so it was back to grinding shrines. But before that, I wanted to show you one thing we found in the Kakariko Test of Strength tutorial shrine. First of all, the game acknowledges that you don't have any equipment here and sends you away. But then you can actually cheese the first two parts without weapons by flurry rushing and then blowing up a bomb in the right time to trick the game. Unfortunately, you cannot make it past the shield parry section of the challenge. Now, one thing on my mind was the hidden Amiibo drop table. When you first start playing the game on the Great Plateau, you have a very limited drop table for your Amiibos to not get broken weapons as you start playing the game. When you then get the glider, the drop table updates slightly and you get somewhat better weapons, but the table then updates another time after defeating the first Divine Beast, so I really wanted to beat one. Otherwise, I would never get strong enough weapons to actually beat the game. The easiest one in my mind was going to be the Vine Beast Var Meadow, since it's very cheesable with clever use of the paraglider. Windblight is also fairly easy, and the flight range challenge before it and the attack on the bird's cannons are also both cheesable with normal weapons and bombs. So this was my next goal. On my way there, I wanted to pick up a bunch of rupees to afford more Amiibo summons, and again cleared some shrines to kill time. In the Trial of Power here, after finding this solution, I came up with the idea for my next YouTube video as well. Can you beat every shrine without equipment? I think the solution here was so cool that I'm sure it's gonna be a fun video, so if you wanna catch it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We are on the final stretch to 100,000 subscribers now, so I would really appreciate it. I'm also doing this sad challenge right now on my Twitch channel, which is linked in the description, so you might catch me finishing it live if you tune in now. In the next shrine on Satori Mountain, I picked up this 300 rupee chest and then scammed Torren at the Tabantha Bridge stable for another 500 to support my gambling addiction. This allowed me to go for another 5 Amiibo pulls, which got me my first weapon in the 7 damage Soldier Spear, some shock arrows, some ice arrows, and lastly an actually somewhat decent weapon. For now, it was time to finally reach Rito Village, where the second hour of the run was also over now, so I got to scan my free Amiibo. This one was Revali's one, and other than spawning in a bunch of fruit and normal arrows, it actually gave me a diamond in the chest. I decided it would be fair game to sell items I got from Amiibos for rupees to then go for even more summons, so that's what I did. And after selling some leftover items that had no use and the diamond in the shop, I was able to afford another 3 Amiibo skins. These ones were huge. Not only did they drop the right ingredients for me to make a cold resistance potion for the attack on Varmedo, but they also finally gave me my first bow, which meant I just unlocked all of the speedrun tricks like wind bombs and other usable tricks. So with that in mind, I felt confident in taking on Varmedo. But first I realized that in order to do pretty much any quest in Rito Village, you actually need to own a shirt? What? Despite that weird encounter, I made my way over to the flight range to talk to Teba. I finished the flight range minigame and then obtained 20 bomb arrows from him. I wanted to get rid of these 20 because I didn't actually get them through Amiibo, so instead I just fired them into the void. However, this is where I realized that Teba actually doesn't let you fly up to Medo until you obtained at least 10 bomb arrows. So I had a problem. The only way for me to get bomb arrows was going to be getting lucky with an Amiibo skin. So it was now grinding time for rupees, so I could afford more pulls. I went and sold all my stuff and made my way into the desert for many rupee chests. I even went to Hyrule Castle to get gold rupees until I finally got my lucky summon with these 5 bomb arrows. Until that happened, I had also gotten a cool set of new armor and some stronger weapons, so I was actually in a great spot for the dungeon. Now, I had also realized at this point that I probably had to do another Divine Beast Vana Boris later in the run, for a reason I will still explain. But because of this, I wanted to save my bomb arrows if possible, since you also need them for the attack on that beast. So my strat for the cannons on Meadow was to choose a different strategy, which actually ended up looking really cool. How broken is that? Okay, it's easy. Once in the Divine Beast, the plan was simple. Just use speedrun strats to activate all the terminals, since at this point I had most equipment for it, and then make quick work of the weak wind blight. I obtained Revali's scale here, which is a key item, so I was free to use it, but I did have to leave the Great Eagle Bow behind, which was really sad since it's so amazing. Too bad. Now again, the whole reason I did this beast is to update the Amiibo's drop table to get better weapons from them. So after some more pulls, what would now stop me from beating the game? Well, it's this guy. Dark Beast Ganon can actually be attacked with 4 different sources of damage. The Bow of Light, which I can't pick up since it's not from Amiibo. The Twilight Bow, which is a super rare drop from the Zelda Amiibo, but I didn't want to rely on getting it. Less known but also possible are Ancient Arrows, which yet again are a very rare drop from the Guardian Amiibo this time. And last but not least, and probably the least known way, is using Orbosa's Fury. If you actually stand in just the right spot, its thundering damage will hit the pig's weak spot. This is the reason I realized I have to do the Divine Beast Vana Boris in the desert, but of course there was another problem here. I couldn't start the quest to attack the beast because in order to do that, you have to talk to Riju in the city, but you can't enter the city without the Gerudo clothing or you get kicked out. And since I wasn't allowed to just buy the clothing, since it wouldn't be an item from Amiibo here, I was stuck again. Now, what if I tell you there is a way to actually enter the city without the clothing, at least for a little bit? When Link moves really fast, his coordinates sometimes get stuck behind him for a little bit. So a very specific fast wind bomb through the window in the back of the town allows you to reach the cutscene before you get kicked out. Now this did take me a couple attempts, but eventually I did get this wind bomb. Oh, this one actually looks quite good. I believe. Come on! Oh! I'm in! It's time! Okay, there's hope. And with this cutscene out of the way, the Divine Beast quest was started now. This meant I could make my way to the Yiga hideout, clip in and defeat Master Koga to retrieve the Thunder Helm, a key item, and then go into the hideout for some easy Amiibo rupees. Now again, I had to enter the city, but this time Riju was going to be on the stairs in front of her palace. I actually just randomly tried this wind bomb here and didn't expect it to work at all, but... Just like that, I had progressed the quest far enough to not need the clothes anymore, so I could simply meet up with Riju at the desert outpost and we could start our attack on the beast. That again was easy enough. Thankfully, I had saved my bomb arrows, so the attack itself was easy. Then in the beast, I could mainly, again, use speedrun strats with Rivali's Scale and wind bombs, and after a little bit of a Thunderblight incident, we were in the clear. With the Blight defeated and Orbosa's Fury obtained, now I could actually set my sights on beating the game. The last thing I wanted to do before making my attempt at the final boss was to clear a bunch of enemies. Even though beating the first Divine Beast updates the Amiibo drop table the final time, just like with any other weapon in the game, their modifiers like attack up scale with defeated Divine Beasts and enemies. So after making my rounds through Hyrule, beating pretty much everything in my way with my weak Amiibo weapons, and picking up rupees where I could, I got myself ready for the final round of summoning items. I actually happened to pull the Zelda Amiibo once here. And then this happened. This is a 2% chance, by the way, and basically meant that what I just did in the entire desert part of the run was for no reason. But I wasn't going to complain, since this was still gonna make my final boss attempt a lot easier. After getting some more upgrades to my weapons and armor, I cooked an attack buff meal and made my way to beat the game. The other two blights were no problem at all, especially with the strong bow, and Calamity Ganon phase 1 was fairly easy too. In the second phase, however, I had to rely on my parry skills. Thankfully, those are on point, since this parry can make or break an 80% speedrun. Boom. And there was Dark Beast Ganon. Here is a little showcase of Orbosa's Fury actually hitting the boss's weak spots. After that, I could simply just use the Twilight Bow for the other weak spots until I only had to shoot the Malice Eye at the end. I actually wanted to find out here if the final arrow could be any arrow, even just a normal one, as long as you are in bullet time. I tried it, and... well, that happened. Let's not talk about it. That aside, after going through the beast again, I actually was able to finish the fight and the game, and with that, also the challenge. I was actually really surprised how much unique problem solving and cool moments this challenge run ended up producing, so I wanted to share it with you guys on YouTube. Again, there is more coming soon, like the All Shrines No Equipment run, so subscribe to not miss it. Or check out my Twitch channel to watch these live. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.